Jackie, the government says buses are the backbone of Britain, but our analysis shows bus provision has fallen starkly across England since 2011. We're not counting the number of routes this time. We've analysed government figures on miles driven by local buses in England, because that's where the figures are for. And that includes commercially run services, as well as routes which are funded by councils. And look at the percentage change in each financial year. It shows a drop in the number of miles driven by buses from 2011 to 2020, and an even bigger drop when you run the numbers per head to factor in our growing population. 20%, a fifth of bus provision lost 2011 to 2020. Then COVID hits. The government responds with emergency funding and provision improves a bit, then falls again. So by 2023, the number of bus miles per person was 28% less than in 2011. And these cuts have consequences, as I've been finding out down the road in Barnsley.
What do we want? Better buses! When do we want it? Now!
A long line, not to wait for a bus, but to demand its return. It's 4 months since the route into the heart of Barnsley's Broadway estate was axed. 97-year-old Jeff relied on it.
Then as a bombshell came last October, no buses. I didn't believe it, quite frankly. I honestly didn't, but there it is. So now I've been in town twice since October, and that was for my hair. My granddaughter took me for a haircut, and that's it. And I'm stuck in the house all day long.
And what it's led to is the transport severing of our lifeline, what we depended upon.
Ronnie is leading the fight back.
It's just like COVID all over again. But whereas the rest of the world are joining in life, we can't.
Do you feel cut off?
Absolutely cut off.
Stagecoach told us it had to make changes because fewer people had been using the route and it had become more expensive. It was a route that took residents to the local supermarket and vitally to and from the hospital.
Last week, we'd 4 appointments, right? That meant £12 a journey in a taxi, there and back. It cost us £48 last week in taxis.
Stagecoach says alternative bus stops for a new route are within walking distance. Lorraine and Chris feel that's not an option.
What would it be like for you to make the walk to the bus stop they say is now available?
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
We'd be... Well, we won't get up the hill.
We couldn't do it.
In April, a community service subsidised by the South Yorkshire Combined Authority will come to the estate, but only between 10 and 2 on weekdays. It doesn't replace what's been lost.
It's like a village hall on wheels. As much as they need to get from A to B, they need that social interaction. A lot of our passengers, they all see each other every week, they know each other, and then if you take that bus service away, that's another social interaction that potentially elderly and vulnerable people are losing out of their lives.
They feel that loss on the Broadway estate. Lives made more isolated and more difficult. But it's not just Barnsley.
No English region has seen an increase in bus provision since 2011. When you adjust for growing populations, we found that every region of England has seen bus provision fall on this measure. London and the South East were least affected, yet still lost 13 and 20% of bus miles per person. But it's disproportionately bad here in Yorkshire, down 36%, and in the North West, down 38%. Take local council areas now, and it's even more stark. This data doesn't include London, but it does give us a picture of the rest of England, and it shows the worst affected council areas. Rutland, Shropshire and Slough have lost more than 2/3 of their bus provision. Why? Some blamed falling passenger numbers and rising costs, and councils had to make tough choices about which routes to subsidise when private bus companies cut back. Rutland, for example, said it had to prioritise with no additional funding, while Shropshire Council said it was unlikely there would be any bus services left in the county if it hadn't stepped in. So did any local area get more bus provision? Well, the situation is so stark, you can count the council areas we found where bus provision per head actually went up since 2011 in single digits. There's only 9 of them on our list, and all of them are in the south of England. Now, the government says it's invested £3.5 billion of support since the pandemic, which it says has prevented reductions to services and extended the £2 fare cap to encourage people back onto the buses.